How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm Jen Smith, your host, and today we're talking about something that might sound a little unexpected when it comes to work, and that is spring cleaning. Now, before you start picturing yourself dusting off your keyboard or decluttering your desk, I want you to think a little bigger. Your career, just like your home or your apartment, accumulates clutter over time. Tasks and commitments and habits that no longer serve you. So today, we are going to tackle that clutter head on. Here's what we're going to talk about. First, why career clutter is draining your energy and creativity. Then we'll talk about how to identify tasks that are stealing your time. I'll share a simple framework to declutter and refocus your work. And then I'd love to invite you to a 7-day Clear the Career Clutter challenge to help you take action immediately. This is part 1 of our decluttering series focused on your career. Part 2 is coming next week, where we'll expand beyond your work to help you spring clean in other areas of your life for even greater balance and clarity. So be sure to stay tuned for next week as well. So if you've ever felt overwhelmed by work or stuck in pointless meetings or bogged down by tasks that don't excite you, stick with me. By the end of this episode, you'll have a practical plan to refresh your work life and create more space for heart-based work. Let's get to it. Now, I have a question for you. Have you ever looked at your to-do list and thought, wow, I'm pretty busy? But when you really break it down, most of it isn't work that actually matters or isn't important. If so, I've totally been there and you're not alone. The reality is that unnecessary tasks and outdated commitments and this constant drive for our attention can drain our energy and our creativity, which makes it hard to focus on work that really matters. And here's the kicker. When you spend too much time on draining tasks, you're actually sabotaging your productivity and your well-being. And when I say productivity, I'm not talking about doing more. It's more about doing work that aligns with who you are and your energy. Research shows that mental fatigue from low-value work leads to decision fatigue, increased stress, and even burnout. But when you remove the clutter and focus on things that drive your energy, you unlock this state called flow. You've probably experienced flow before, but you might not have known what to call it. So basically, flow is this magical zone where time feels like it disappears and distractions fade and you're completely immersed in what you're doing. You feel energized and focused and in control. Psychologists describe flow as the optimal state of engagement, creativity, and productivity. So it happens when your skills and challenges are balanced. So they say when something is too easy, it'll lead to boredom. And then when something is too hard, it's going to lead to frustration. So here's the question for you. When do you feel like you're most in the flow at work? And how can you create more opportunities for that? The first step is to clear the clutter. So we need to take an inventory of work that's driving your energy and draining your energy. The idea here is to grab a piece of paper or open your notes app, whatever works for you, and take a look at your calendar or your to-do list or your planner and make a list of everything you do in a typical work week. I mean, everything. Emails, meetings, preparing for meetings, follow-up from meetings, daily tasks, side projects, all of it. Next, go through that list and ask yourself, does this energize me or deplete me? You could even color code it. You could put some kind of like bright pink or orange on things that energize you, and then maybe a darker color for things that deplete you. And my guess is that it's going to be pretty eye-opening. This simple exercise will show you where your time and energy are really going. Once you have your inventory, step 2 is to apply the 4D framework. The first D is to decide. Identify what's essential and worth keeping. The second D is delegate. Assign tasks to others that can handle it. The third is digitize or automate repetitive processes. And then finally, drop. Eliminate what no longer serves a purpose. So let's talk about each of these. First, decide what to keep. Take a look at those energizing tasks. These are things that fuel you and align with your heart-based goals, and decide what you want to keep. Now, of course, sometimes there are going to be things on that list that don't genuinely drive your energy and that you have to do, and that's okay, but try to make the majority of the things that you're deciding to keep aligned with your energy and your heart-based goals. From there, review all the energy drainers and determine how you might delegate something. If someone else can do it better or faster, pass it on. I believe that this is one of the most underutilized ways to declutter your career. A lot of us struggle with delegation because we think, I should just do it myself, or it's easier and faster if I do it myself. But here's the truth. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. Delegation isn't about dumping work on someone else. It's about recognizing that we all have different strengths. So something that drains you might actually be energizing and fulfilling for someone else. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're a data analyst who loves diving into complex data sets and uncovering insights and building compelling data visualizations. But you dread the administrative tasks like documenting processes or managing timelines and projects. Your colleague, on the other hand, is a meticulous project manager who thrives on organizing workflows and tracking deadlines and ensuring a smooth project execution. So instead of struggling through project coordination and status reporting, delegate those responsibilities to your project manager or an operations specialist, someone who really enjoys and excels keeping things on track. In return, you can focus on analyzing data, discovering trends, and delivering impactful insights rather than just getting bogged down in logistics that drain your energy. This isn't passing off work just to lighten your load. It's aligning tasks with strengths so that everyone benefits. Okay, so we've talked about deciding what to keep. We've talked about delegating. Next is digitize or automate. Use technology to cut down on administrative or repetitive work. So for example, if you find yourself typing the same email responses over and over, use an email template or an auto response. We used to do this as recruiters all the time. So we would use an email template right inside Microsoft Outlook. So picture this, you're a recruiter and you're crafting a new email, but instead of starting from scratch every single time, you've got a preset template. All the core information you need as a recruiter, your introduction, company details, and maybe even a brief description about the role that you're recruiting for is already there. All you need to do is tweak a few lines to personalize it for the person that you're reaching out to. This saves time, it keeps your messaging consistent, and it still feels genuine because you're adding that personal touch where it matters. So here's how you can do this and set it up in Outlook if this is interesting to you. So all you have to do is open Outlook, click on New Email, and then go to the Message tab and click on Signatures. From there, you're in the email signatures. You create a new signature, name it something like Outreach Template or Email Response or whatever you want. Add your template right in the box, save it, and you're done. Now, whenever you start a new email, just insert the signature, make your quick adjustments, and hit send. It is efficient, professional, and honestly, a bit of a game changer when you're managing high volume outreach. Even if you're not managing high volume outreach, it can save a lot of brain power when you don't have to start from scratch. Another tool I love is a calendar booking tool. Think about it. No more what time works for you, followed by 3 different suggestions, only to find that none of them match. So instead, you just send a link and the other person picks a time that fits both your schedules. Personally, I use Calendly. I absolutely love it. There are other tools I've seen, Doodle or Microsoft Bookings, that make this super easy. So here's how this works. First, you set up your calendar and connect the tool to your work calendar, whether it's Outlook, Google, whatever calendar you're using. Then you define your availability, so block off the times that you're busy and set your preferred meeting windows. Share the link, so when someone needs to book time with you, just send them your unique link. They pick and you relax, so they choose a slot that works for them based on your availability, and the meeting is scheduled without a single extra email. Not only does this save you time, but it makes you look super organized and professional. Once you start using it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it. So definitely use technology to your advantage. Now, the final D in the framework is drop or eliminate. Just because you've always done something doesn't mean you need to keep doing it. If you're stuck in too many meetings, maybe you can request a status update instead. The goal here is to free up your precious time for high-value, heart-based work. So let me give you a quick example here. I used to have this reoccurring weekly meeting that was supposed to be a quick check-in. But over time, it turned into an hour-long session where most of the discussion was not relevant to my role. It was just habit. So I decided to challenge it. I reached out to the organizer and suggested, hey, instead of this weekly meeting, could we switch it to a simple status update over Teams? And guess what? They were totally on board. Now we all get the same information in a quick update that we can scan in 2 minutes instead of sitting through an hour-long call. So the goal here is to free up time for high-value, heart-based work. Take a look at your calendar. Just because it's always been there, figure out what you can drop or at least handle differently to create space for work that matters. Okay, so we've talked about taking an inventory of your energy and understanding which tasks energize versus deplete you. Then we've applied the 4D framework, deciding what to keep, delegate, digitize, or drop. Now it's time to establish your non-negotiables or set boundaries. Boundaries and non-negotiables are crucial for maintaining a decluttered career. So here's a couple of ideas. Number 1, and this is the most important thing that you can do to clear the clutter, is to prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. Get clear on what really matters and focus your time on that work. I know that this is one of the hardest things to do because sometimes it feels like everything's a priority, but when everything's a priority, nothing's a priority. There's a tool out there called the Eisenhower Matrix, which you can use to help you separate urgent versus important and then decline anything outside your top priorities. But you must ruthlessly prioritize. Another way to establish your non-negotiables and set boundaries is to pause before committing. Don't say yes immediately. Give yourself time to assess the request and make sure it aligns with your heart-based goals. So when you're asked to take on more work, you can respond with something like, "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." That gives you a minute to pause before just reacting. You can pause, decide, and then respond. Another thing, which I know is so hard for folks, is saying no gracefully. And I have a whole episode dedicated to this that I'll add to the show notes. But learn how to turn down requests politely and firmly. This will help you maintain control over your workload. Quick example, if a colleague asks you to take on a project that doesn't align with your priorities, you can say something very simple like, "Thank you so much for thinking of me. I'm currently at full capacity and I won't be able to give this the attention that it deserves." So that simple, kind, and polite response just lets them know that you don't have the time or the energy and it's not aligned with your priorities. That's why the ruthless prioritization is so key, because when you know what your priorities are, it can help you say yes or no to things that come your way. Another idea here, this has been a huge game changer for me, is batching similar tasks. So instead of switching between different types of work all day, group similar tasks together, and this is going to improve your flow, your efficiency, and your well-being. I've been trying really hard to do this recently with email. So instead of checking my inbox every 5 minutes, I've set designated times like 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. to answer emails in one go versus just doing it constantly throughout the day. So this prevents that constant interruption and allows you to focus on your heart-based work. So these are just some ideas. There's a lot more ways to set your non-negotiables, but you want to do this to really protect your time and energy. Another consideration that I heard recently is to think of your energy like money, and you need to spend it wisely. So energy gains are tasks that fuel you and challenge you and where you make an impact. And energy drains are things that make you feel depleted or stuck that you need to declutter. So if most of your work falls into the draining category, it's time to shift your budget. Look for the spaces where your energy is going and start investing in tasks that bring you joy and momentum each day. All right, now it's time to take tiny action. Over the next week, I want to invite you to a 7-day challenge, Clear the Career Clutter Challenge. Follow these simple daily steps to detox your work life. Day 1, identify your top 3 career or work energy drainers. So do that energy audit and figure out the top 3 things that are draining your energy. Day 2, drop or digitize one of them. Day 3, unschedule one unnecessary meeting. Day 4, batch similar tasks for efficiency and flow. Day 5, delegate something that you've been holding on to that drains your energy. Day 6, set a new non-negotiable boundary and notice how you feel. Day 7, reflect and determine what worked and what didn't and create a long-term maintenance plan. By the end of the week, my guess is that you'll feel lighter, clearer, and more in control of your career. We're going to do this inside our insider group together, and you are more than welcome to join us where you'll get support, accountability, and tips to stay on track. So join us and make your career clutter-free for good. So here's a recap of what we covered today. We talked about how career clutter drains your energy and creativity. We discussed the importance of entering that flow state for optimal energy. Talked through a step-by-step 4D framework to declutter your work. We discussed practical strategies to implement non-negotiables and protect your time and energy. And then finally, introduced a 7-day challenge to help you take immediate action. Remember, work shouldn't feel like a never-ending, dragging to-do list. By intentionally clearing out what doesn't serve you, you create space for work that feels energizing and fulfilling, which is the foundation of heart-based career planning. I hope this episode resonated with you. And if it did, please consider sharing it with a friend or a colleague who needs a career refresh. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week with part 2 of clearing out the career clutter and spring cleaning for our work. Talk to you next time.